Well, it's that time of the year. The time of the year where everyone starts making lists naming what they think was the top whatever or the worst whatever. And since I mostly do movies, it's time for me to do the top 5 worst movies of 2010. Yes, the year is long and gone. There was plenty of stinkers, and I didn't see all of them. And that's an important thing for you watching this list. If you saw a really horrible movie and you don't see it on this list, keep in mind these are only movies that I saw this year and were released this year. Therefore, for perfect example, I did not see Twilight. So, Twilight's not on the list. I'm pretty sure I would hate it if I went to go see it, but I didn't subject myself to that type of sadomasochistic torture. But, let's get on. Now, to qualify to be on my list, you had to be released in 2010, and I had to have seen the movie in 2010. So, we start off the list with The Other Guys, coming in at number 5. Now, The Other Guys had some laughs, but overall the story was this bland, unintentionally, let's say, funny at some points, and the last half had me not laughing. It was okay. The first half, there was some good jokes with The Rock, and Samuel L. Jackson was a perfect mockery on the classic buddy cop cliche. In fact, they should have done, as Angry Joe had said in his own review, they should have done the entire movie about them. They were perfect satire, but the movie did start off strong, but the last half just killed it for me. And that's a big problem when you're having a comedy movie. The last impression is the impression you're going to have when you leave the theater. That's going to define you. And when your last half of your movie is painfully unfunny, that ruins it. Number 4 is Robin Hood. Robin Hood actually, technically, is an okay film, but there's some problems with it. One, it's not a Robin Hood movie. I can't stress this point enough. If they had just made this movie not about Robin Hood and pretty much kept the entire plot, it would have been acceptable. But people like myself wanted to see a Robin Hood movie, not Magna Carta. Actually, I would like to see a Magna Carta movie. That would be interesting. But unfortunately, this movie's called Robin Hood. And therefore, I'm sorry, Ridley Scott, I love most of your work. You're a great director. Hopefully your Alien prequels will be fine. But this movie, not to mention, I almost forgot there are some bad character inconsistencies where certain characters just take on roles that they weren't really prepped for before us to take it. Yes, I'm talking about Maid Marian. Now, I have a feeling in the director's cut there might have been more prep for us, but she's kind of shown as just an average medieval woman, and then at the end she shows up as freaking Joan of Arc. It was too disjointing, and it kind of ruined the movie, but that's only a minor complaint. The real complaint was that it was not a Robin Hood movie. Now, number 3 was Clash of the Titans. This is one of those great examples of studio interference from what I've been able to ascertain. The studio really interfered with the scripting, the plot, pretty much everything you can imagine, with creating a very chopped up, hard to understand mess. It was very hard for me to even sympathize with the main characters. They're supposed to hate the gods, but I'm never really given a good, clear example of why. The only clear example is early on in the film when Perseus' father, or stepfather, is pulling up some nets and they got ripped up on the reefs. God damn the gods! Don't fish on reefs! That's literally the only example we're given to show how the gods are bad. Yeah, not happening. There was also this kind of pointless humor that you could tell the studio is shoved in with a couple of side characters or that are supposed to get the kids to laugh. It just didn't work, and it made a movie very choppy with poor pacing. Really bad pacing. Now, number 2 holds a special place in our heart, at least for people that subscribe to me, because it's the first movie we reviewed here. That, of course, is The Last Airbender. A movie that I thought was bad to begin with, and then I saw the animated series and realized just how much they messed up. This movie literally tried to cram an entire first season, almost verbatim, into an hour and a half to 2 hour movie. Think about that for a second there. You're going to cram in about 20 hours worth of alright, or 18 hours worth of plot into 2 hours. This movie was a mess, and they even messed up some points still. I don't even know where to begin. Everything that has been said bad about this movie has been said. But that's not number one. For as bad as The Last Airbender was, they did some cool martial arts every now and then. It was technically put together alright. That can probably be debated though. But it doesn't hold a candle to Grown Ups. Oh yes, the Adam Sandler ensemble comedy. Keyword there is comedy. Yes, Grown Ups was the most unfunny movie I have ever seen. It's just painful. You can see that they're trying to be funny, but they're not. I'm sure there's a few people that disagree with me, people that are hardcore Adam Sandler fans or David Spade fans or so on and so forth, with Chris Rock. But they weren't funny in this film. We could tell that they were trying to, but it just wasn't connecting. The cast, you could see they maybe kind of clicked, but I think that was the problem. They were having too much fun with themselves interacting and not making a funny movie. This was painful. I watched this with friends. I watched this with a large group of people from all over the world when I was down in D.C. Somebody got the movie, and we decided to watch that as our movie night. And it was universal that this was the worst movie we had seen that year. So, it wasn't just me. This wasn't just my impression. I saw this with a decent group of people, and it was universal. And it was painful, because the one thing, a bad action movie can still have action in it, at least. As we saw with Clash of the Titans, Robin Hood, The Last Airbender. And at least the other guys had a bunch of jokes. It was doing alright for the first half. It was still making me laugh, which is really the important part of being a comedy. I did not laugh at a single joke in Grown Ups. Maybe that's because of my taste. Maybe that's because the movie was completely unfunny. But Grown Ups takes the cake as the worst movie of 2010. Congratulations, Adam Sandler. Now, what's coming up in 2011? It's hard to tell, because normally the worst movies, they're not getting promoted a lot.